Now that we have the first presidential Democratic primary poll of the 2028 election, we have some breaking news. Pete Buttigieg, of all people, has the lead over Kamala Harris, but most importantly, he's done this with 0% of the black vote as an openly gay candidate. Let's look into it. So before we get into the bottom of this, no pun, of the polling, let's just list who is in the lead. So first of all, you have Pete Buttigieg with a 16% overall support base in the primary. You have Harris at 13%, Gavin Newsom at 12. You have Ocasio-Cortez 7%. You got Shapiro at 7%. You've got Bernie Sanders 5%, even though he said he's not running. You have Cory Booker 3%. That's Spartacus, by the way. Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan 3%. Tim Walz somehow at 2%. That might be like the Communist Party officials from China voting for him by proxy. Anyways, J.B. Pritzker, all of them, by the way, 2%. You'd expect him to eat some of the smaller candidates on the way there. Anyway, Wes Moore, governor of Maryland, he's black. That's all I know about him, 2%. Andy Beshear, moderate Kentucky governor, son of a governor. Anyway, 2%. So let's break down what the bones of this is. So after reading the Excel sheet and all that, now let's get into the racial background. So first of all, let's just revisit the 2020 election. If you look here, you'll notice that Joe Biden won the vast majority of the states. Now, obviously, if you recall, what had happened is that Joe Biden was like third place, fifth place. He was really just not performing well, which is to be expected. It's Joe. Anyways, Jim Clyburn, a prominent black Democratic congressman, endorsed him, bailed him out, got him the black vote because of Barack or whatever. And so in South Carolina, he trounced everybody else because people like Buttigieg had no black support. And so therefore, he went on to sweep Super Tuesday and whatever else have you. Now, on top of that, keep in mind this. Pete Buttigieg actually won Iowa, one state, the first state, I believe. Now, two things to consider here. Number one, he was accused of cheating, which I can believe. He barely won it anyway over Bernie Sanders. Number two, Iowa, in particular, is pretty much only white people. Now, Pete Buttigieg, as an openly gay guy, is not getting minority support, namely black support. Now, that might seem like a culture shock, but let me remind you that in 2008, there was a proposition or an amendment that was voted on, and that proposition was suggesting legalizing gay marriage in the state of California. Again, 2008. Minorities and Democrats alike, majority, like two-thirds of the people of California, voted against gay marriage. And the majority of the people that voted against gay marriage were minorities, namely black people. So this has precedent. It's obvious. Anyway, so let's look into every candidate's racial support. So Buttigieg has 22% of the white vote, right? And then he's got 0% of the black vote, which is, again, numerically pretty bad. I mean, I could say the N-word and I'd probably get more of the black vote because I'm not gay. But then also Hispanic support is at 10. So a little below the national average Hispanic rate of like 12.5%. You look at Harris, she gets 7% white support, which is a little low, by the way, and then 30% black support. So if you look at the rest of the list, the second strongest black candidate is Bernie Sanders, of all people. I guess they confuse him with the guy who owns KFC. But anyway, 10% of the black vote. So Harris has a bank and a reservoir of the black vote. Now, this matters because if you look at the map here, Joe Biden survived the primary in 2020 and coordinated as such, endorsed by Buttigieg, by the way, because of the black support in South Carolina and the Super Tuesday states in the Deep South. So when you're looking at it that way, Kamala might be somebody who could lose Iowa, could lose New Hampshire to a Buttigieg. But then when it comes to the people in the not the Sun Belt, the Bible Belt, it looks really rough for people like Buttigieg. And Harris has that black vote pretty much locked in for whatever reason. Gavin Newsom. Now, he has 10% of the white support, which is more or less in line with the average. And then you also got 9% black support, 21% Hispanic. So he's actually the strongest candidate with Hispanics. Now, this could be because he's a governor of a very Hispanic state in California and there's a polling bias, but seemingly that's still a lot. Second closest person, if you look here on the chart, is AOC. AOC is at 18% of Hispanic support. She's got a not Mexican, but a Spanish surname, so you can believe that. Surnames, there's two. Anyway, Shapiro, again, nothing too crazy. Black support a little low. Sanders, really high black support, more than the other two categories. Kind of weird. Cory Booker also has a light-skinned milk dud himself, 7% of the black support, and he's also a closeted homosexual by all reports. Whitmer, very even distribution, very low name recognition at only 3% out of the state of Michigan. Tim Walz has 4% Hispanic support, which, again, I renounce my race if that's the case. Okay, why the hell are my people 4 times as likely to support Tim Walz in the primary over whites and blacks? Crazy. Also, who left the Asians out of the party? Okay, anyway, Pritzker, again, White support over everything else, 0% Hispanic, looking tough. Chicago's got a lot of Mexicans too, so that's not looking too good for this essay. Now, Westmore, 8% black support, 1% white support, 0% Mexican or Hispanic. So again, really bad. For those two categories, again, he's a black dude, so he gets more black support. So if you notice here, the tribalism among the races is strongest among black people. They're more likely to support a candidate just based on the fact that they're biologically similar. If you look at Obama, in 2008, he got like 97% of the black female vote, which is like Stalin numbers. Those are Hitler numbers insofar as like dictator margins, okay? That's like Kim Jong-un hosting a mock election. Okay, and then the write-ins, the 3% are like Mickey Mouse. Okay, so for him to win 97% shows the tribalism at play. However, you move on. Now, Bashir also pretty even distribution, nothing to write home about there. Okay, so before we end the video, this is the June 2025 poll, sorry. I say this is the first poll because it's the first poll I talked about, and that's what matters. Now, secondly, there was a poll, I believe, like 6 months ago, so November 2024. This was after the election, November 20th, by the way. Now, the dynamic of the race was very different, so this is just a snapshot in history so that we can all kind of like compare and contrast. So if you look here, Kamala Harris was at a 37% lead, despite already losing to Trump in a significant way, and we all love to see it, right? Anyway, Gavin Newsom at 7%, Pete Buttigieg at 4%. So he went from 4% 6 months ago, basically, to around 16. Okay, so 4 times as supported, which is fantastic for him. However, there may be a ceiling. So, like for example, Buttigieg could be articulate, smart, candidate for Democratic president, and you could believe it, but also candidate for Antichrist. But I don't think the Antichrist would be gay, so maybe not. Anyway, the point being, though, is that he did pretty well, despite not having any clout. Mayor of South Bend, the jokes write themselves, right? Pete Buttigieg. Anyway, small town mayor, became this ladder climber, and he still leveraged that to get what, like double digit support in the primary and winning Iowa disputably. So the point being is that he could definitely do well at the beginning. You know, he could get first place in Iowa. He could get first place in New Hampshire. But then when it comes to Nevada or when it comes to South Carolina in particular, the kryptonite of Buttigieg, it could seem like maybe someone like Kamala could step in. In fact, if she were to run for governor in 26, win, then maybe Gavin Newsom backs off knowing that Kamala has the California support, plus on top of that has the black support. This black support is tantamount to winning the primary because once you get to South Carolina, once you survive the other 2 or 3 states prior, you get the rest of these deep southern states, which are obviously very populated in with blacks. One other thing, Gavin Newsom also increased his vote share from 7% to 11% in the same poll. Buttigieg 4x to support. Kamala receded by over 25%, which is crazy. Probably because she bowed out of the shot. What do you call it? The spotlight. Probably to down another bottle of Hennessy. But anyway, Gretchen Whitmer stagnant. She hasn't really been popping off. In fact, she had that terrible gaffe at the Oval Office a couple months ago. Governor Shapiro also not really popping off. Michelle Obama will not run. I hope not. Could be the first female president, maybe. Bernie Sanders not running. He's old as hell, older than Biden, believe it or not. And so it seems like the race is getting a little more narrow insofar as there's not as many people that are running. So maybe the field back then could have been 15 people. Now it's looking more like 10. And of these, not too many of these are going to make a significant wave. And in particular, when you look at the undecided share, after the election in 24, there was 35% of the people polled that were undecided. Okay, so these are free game votes. Now it's down to 23%. So as we get closer to the election in 28, you'll see less and less people being undecided as they get to learn more about their options and they get more settled into they make their beds basically. And so we'll see as it goes on how much more accurate we can get these predictions. But anyways, bottom line, the headlight for today's video is Pete Buttigieg in the lead despite not having any black support. Because he's gay. It's tough. I don't know. Should have stayed in the closet, bud. But anyway, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Comment down below what your thoughts are. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Adios.